Ladies and gentlemen, we're expecting some moderate turbulence.
Please remain seated and enjoy the show. Hello.
And welcome to
Moderate Turbulence.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm Adele. And Roxy's here.
How are you, Adele?
I'm good, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Roxy? She just looks at mommy.
All right. Well, we kind of warned everyone that we might be skipping another week just because we lost one episode, so we had to re-record. So it kind of just left everything kind of set back for a little bit. But I think we're back steady now. Vacation's over.
On track, yeah.
And we have more time off spread out throughout the month because the last, I think, 10 days I just worked so much.
Yeah. And of course, like we're working opposite schedules because of this little one, because we need someone home constantly. See if she tries to bite me. Nope, she's good. Yeah, so right now we're both home, so it's time to record an episode.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to chat, I feel like just chat about what's been happening with the airline, with just aviation in general, with us. Yeah. I don't know how many pairings I've done since we last recorded because I've just been flying so much.
Yeah.
You've been flying a lot as well. So, let's get into our highs and lows of the past, I guess, 2 weeks-ish.
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
All right, you go ahead. You start.
So highs for the last 2 weeks-ish. Of course, I did another London flight, which is always fun. And I was with Alberto for this last one, wasn't I?
I don't know.
Yeah, and it's always fun flying with Alberto because he's a good friend and he's a hard worker, especially on board. So that always makes things go a little smoother. And then, just based on experience, if things aren't going as quickly in like business class versus economy class, whoever is a little slower, the other one will go and help them. Did that make sense? It made sense to you, I know. But so basically, Alberto and I were really, really fast, and the back had some newer flight attendants, so they weren't quite as quick as us. So of course we jumped in the back there and got everything finished up. And when you work with people that are good like that are willing to pick up the slack, if there is any, it just makes everything go a little smoother. And then of course it's always fun hanging out with friends when you're overseas. And my other high is Adele really pushed to get a Peloton because she rode one in Houston, Houston or Dallas or LA.
Both,
somewhere. So and she
Texas is where you have to go.
So she rode a Peloton and she comes home and immediately says, I want a Peloton. So she won. And we got a Peloton 3 days ago now.
I think only 2 days.
2 days ago? Oh, well, I've done 3 workouts on it. So, and it's great. I love it already. So you'll see hopefully a transformation over the next few months as I continue working out on the Peloton.
Yeah, no, it's just, we're recording. It's June 4th today. We got it June 2nd and we got it pretty late. Jeremy hasn't even come home from Toronto yet. They came in super seamless delivery and setup on the part of Peloton. So honestly, highly recommend that. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only option. I don't think you can even like get it and set it up yourself. Like you can't just buy it in store and bring it home. You order it and then it gets you select your delivery date, and then since we're flying and never like home, this is the earliest that we could schedule. So we did have to wait over 2 weeks for it, but it gave us a chance to set up our little area for it. We ordered some puzzle gym mat things off of Amazon, and we
kind of set up a little corner as like our kind of home gym.
Yeah,
it's not extensive by any means. It has like our yoga mats and a couple little weights that we have, and now of course our Peloton.
Well, yeah, and then we got the storage bin to store all our stuff. We've been monitoring it, make sure the cats don't get too scratchy on it. Yeah. But I mean, it is what it is. Now we have the bike, and we've each had three workouts on it. It's just lots of fun. I mean, when it comes to working out, a little tangent here, but allow this. I feel like as long as you're enjoying yourself, whatever you like to do to move your body, that's what will just make a biggest impact.
Yeah.
Just because you need to like what you're doing. If everyone around you says, oh, let's go jogging, this is the best exercise, you need to go jogging with us, blah, blah, blah. but you hate jogging, then you're either not going to do it or you're not going to see any results or anything because you are miserable doing it. So for the Peloton, it's just such a fun thing. You feel like you're in a spin class, but you're at home. And there's so many options for music, for length, for difficulty. And with the membership of the Peloton, you get access to not just cycle classes. You can do so many more classes. So we're probably going to end up canceling our gym memberships and just having like our at-home thing. And then when we're on layovers, we can just use whatever gym is at the hotel we're at. So
I actually did a workout today. So I did a cycle workout and then I followed up with like a strength training workout, just really light. Like I didn't go above 5-pound weights or anything, but just to kind of get back into the mix of things. And it was great. It was a really fun workout to follow, and they're very motivating. There's no like, oh, you should be lifting more weights. They're like, hey, do what's comfortable for you. Like you're already one step ahead by getting off the couch and doing something. So yeah, I felt it was very motivating.
But yeah, it's fun. Like you probably listen to rock or classic rock or things like that. I've just been sticking to pop music and stuff. And it's just, I've been trying different instructors or coaches or whatever they call themselves. And so far they've all been really fun. So excellent. And oh yeah, and by the way, this is in no way sponsored or anything by Peloton, even though that would be really cool. But
well, I mean, we do have a referral link so that if somebody wanted or was thinking of getting a Peloton, let us know, and we can put our referral link maybe in the description or something. And yeah,
we can totally put it in the description.
That would support the show. Yeah.
Highly recommend Peloton. If you have a chance to try one out, definitely do so, and then you might be hooked. So warning, you might want to buy a Peloton immediately after you try one out, but that's the form of exercise that works for us right now. So
yeah, and it was cost effective as well. It wasn't super expensive. There was a promotion going on where they had a number of hundreds of dollars off of the initial price. So we got a good deal on it, a good financing rate. So we're paying it off over X amount of months, and yeah, we're not breaking the bank with it.
Yeah, it's pretty much with the membership and the
bike
financing of the bike. It's about the cost of our gym membership. So if we do cancel them, then
it's offset.
It's the same price. We're not like paying hundreds of dollars more a month each. Like it's very minimal.
Yeah.
So it's a possibility. Look into it if you're interested, and yeah, you might be on the Peloton train. So those
your turn for your highs. You haven't said your highs yet, other than the Peloton.
Well, yeah. Well, let's start with my lows. Did you say your lows?
I didn't say lows yet.
Okay. I'm going to start with my lows just because it's frustrating to deal with. So I recently had a 4-day pairing, and a lot of the times, I think we've mentioned it before, if you have a great crew, you just flew with a friend of the podcast, Alberto, right? So you are enjoying it. You know you have a friend on the layover. At least you know you have a good worker on the flight as well. But when the opposite happens, if you have someone on the crew who doesn't pull their weight, who's just lazy, refuses to do the work, and is just looking and acting miserable the whole time, it makes for a very long 4 days. And unfortunately, it's been happening more often than not. On just in general, you get crews, you don't know everyone, so you don't really know what to expect until you start working with them. And then it's sometimes a pleasant surprise. You make a new friend and then it's enjoyable, but sometimes you are stuck with a person who doesn't work for 4 days. And then you have to deal with the rest of the crew being unhappy because they have to work with someone who's not working. And it's just, yeah. So that made for a really long 4 days of working. And that was unpleasant and stressful, definitely. And yeah, I'm hoping that it's behind me, but you never know because I've met all the flight attendants at our company. So I have no idea who else is like that, but yeah, just really, really frustrating to work with people like that. And
yeah,
there's people like that in every job, obviously, but when you work with them pretty much exclusively for 4 days, that's what kind of makes it hard.
It's a downer. Like it just brings the whole mood down, and you're like, and you do what you can to try and motivate them and be like, hey, like, you know, I'm doing this. Why don't you join in type thing, you know, lead by example. But again, some people you just can't help.
Yeah. So anyways, that was one of the lows. Another one. So that was crew. There's also the part of dealing with bad passengers as well. So that same pairing, you know, day one of that pairing, it was just extremely special. When the first leg of our pairing is my crew and I were deadheading. So we were passengers on the first flight to then operate, so work the following flight. So we didn't have to work the first flight. So we were passengers. We were lucky enough to get business class seats. So we were nice and comfortable for like the 2.5 hour flight that we had. It was a light load throughout the aircraft. So very, very nice. We boarded quickly. But then we were all sitting in our seats, my crew who were deadheading, and then a passenger's walking around staring at us, looking at us. And then he makes a comment openly in the cabin of, oh, wow, the flight attendants are really useful today. Of course, extremely sarcastic and essentially wanting to make us feel bad for being seated in the seats, even though there were plenty of operating crew members, working crew members around close to that person. But he just saw the flight attendant sitting down and he needed to make a comment of how those people weren't working or those people were useless in that moment. Mm-hmm. So it's just really frustrating to have people like that who have really no idea what's happening. They see uniformed crew members and assume because they're sitting down that they're supposed to be working and they're in that moment being lazy. He didn't ask us for anything. He just made the comment. So if he had asked us for anything, I'm sure any of us would have helped him or directed them to the operating crew who would have then been able to assist him with whatever he needed. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was really frustrating and just like, really just like, oh, why would you say that? It's just disgusting.
Yeah. And he doesn't know. He doesn't know if you've been working for 14 hours straight and now during the 15th hour, you're actually, just going home. He doesn't know that. He doesn't know if you're deadheading to a destination to save another crew that their aircraft went mechanical. He doesn't know. He doesn't know if you're deadheading and then you're going to be operating for the next 15 hours. And this is like your one little, my moment of he doesn't know. That's just an ignorant person saying an ignorant comment. And if you're passengers out there listening, don't do stuff like that. Again, I know it's not the end of our podcast, but be nice to your flight attendants.
Yeah. And it's just, and the cherry on that cake is that he's a father. He was walking around with his young infant child in his arms while he was saying that. So I'm like, ugh, that child is being raised by really rude people. Yep. Which is really unfortunate. I'm like, maybe that was his moment of, he just had his bad moment. But at the same time, it's like when people make comments like that, like loudly in the way he said it, it's clearly to make an impact and to make us feel bad or to kind of be like, hey, I see you not working. I need to make a comment about it. Yeah. Because if he needed something, he could have asked us. He could have addressed us as humans, as people, and say, hey, I need assistance with this. Can you help me? Or, hey, I have a question, or whatever the situation may be. And we would have been able to help him or answer his question. But no, he needed to make a comment on our laziness in the moment. Yep. So that was the start of that day. So that was at 6 a.m. on that first day of a 4-day pairing. So that was excellent. And then on the following flight, we had someone who decided to vape in the lavatory during boarding. So then again, that was great. So that was the second flight of our day, of our 4-day pairing. Smoke alarm goes off. My crew's dealing with kids that happen in the back of the aircraft. They call me up, tell me what's happening, tell me they confiscated his vape and all of that stuff. So I have to deal with that. I have to tell the pilots, all this stuff. So it's like, passengers, you think they know better, but really they still do this stuff on board.
They still push the limits. See what can I get away with? Let's see what rules can I break and not get in trouble type thing.
Yeah. So, and then the only thing I could do, because the pilots didn't want to get him off the plane, they didn't want to deplane him. I spoke to him and he went back to his seat and laughed around with his buddies. So yeah, super frustrating, super great start of that day. And of course, that's also when I realized how lazy one of my flight attendants was.
Unfortunately.
During that flight. So yeah, that was big lows for that. The last 10 days or so. Hi, if I can continue for a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oopsies. So then I did a 2-day pairing right after that. So I came back on June 1st, and on June 1st, there happened to be a technical issue affecting airports, our airline, just everything pretty much within departing and arriving aircrafts at airports. But it happened, I think, literally within half an hour to an hour of me landing back at home base. So I was really lucky to avoid that, because right after that happened, flights were delayed hours, a lot of cancellations, a lot of drafting, a lot of just not ending up where you're supposed to.
Can I add a little something to that? So I was supposed to leave earlier in the day, but my flight got slightly delayed. So Adele and I actually got to see each other for a couple hours. Part of the high.
Yeah. But yeah, we landed early. We were good. That was our only flight for that day. And then I went home and then started seeing all the messages, all the posts, all the information coming out about this issue. And I was like, wow, I lucked out. I avoided that huge mess. Mm-hmm. So I was thanking my lucky stars in that moment, because I did not want to have to deal with that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
On day 6 of working in a row, no.
Yeah. My low, I haven't said a low yet. So my low is kind of similar to some of your lows, where I was flying back from Toronto after a meeting to Calgary, and there's a lot of issues on the east coast of Canada, especially around Halifax with wildfires. And so due to that, it was canceling a lot of flights. And of course, it's going to make people frustrated when their flights are canceled and they can't get home. But when it's something that's extenuating circumstances and outside of the airline's power, really, like, you can't blame it on the airline. Like, the amount of times we've been like, oh, like, the snow is really heavy and it's not safe to take off. And people are like, ugh, the airline again is canceling my flight. Like, yes, so that you can live and be safe. So I witnessed a passenger who was extremely upset that his flights to Halifax were being canceled, and was taking it out on the agents that were at the counter. And the agents literally said, I'm really, really sorry. Right now we're dealing with a different flight. We're not here working on the Halifax flight. If you go and proceed to customer service, and they gave the directions to just walk down the hall and speak with the customer service desk, and he wasn't having it. He just said, what? So my flight's canceled and you're not helping me? You're sitting right here and you're not helping me? And they're like, we literally can't help you. Our systems are all locked to the Calgary flight right now, which is what we're dealing with as they're trying to board that flight. But if you proceed down the hall, and he just wasn't having it. He just was like yelling at the agents. And it was at that point where I was like, oh, the agents get a lot of grief as well. And then after they're done with that, when they come on board, then the flight attendants get the grief from those passengers. So again, frustrating. Yes. Take a deep breath. Understand what you can and can't do, and what the agents can and can't do. Listen for a second and follow their instructions. They say, hey, if you go to this desk, they can help you. Proceed to that desk. Don't sit there and yell at the agent who just said, I wish I could help you, but I don't have the tools to do it here. So that was my low coming home from Toronto.
Yeah, you see it all the time, and then it's just like, just because you're a customer for that company, for that whatever restaurant, shop, airline, whatever the situation is, if the employees are telling you one thing in the moment, or that they can help you in several minutes while they deal with this, please just realize that they can help you, or they're directing you to someone who can help you. Mm-hmm. But maybe that person right in front of you is not the person to be yelling at or let out your frustration in that moment, because they told you if they can help you or not, and they've told you where you can get assistance.
Yep.
So if you keep yelling at them,
It's you're not progressing the interaction. You're not progressing your chance of a resolution at all.
Exactly. So it's just, but people just kind of sometimes get angry and they hyper focus on one person or one area, and then they can't see past that.
You get that tunnel vision. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of leading into a little bit of what we wanted to talk about here on this episode. And I know most of this episode is just going to be our highs and lows and sort of giving you some of what we've experienced recently. But over the last 2 years, let's say, about 2 years, that's since we've all been coming back from COVID. Airlines aren't at 100% yet, not even close. At the meeting I was at in Toronto, we got a lot of facts and a lot of information in how much of the airline during COVID was either laid off or decided to take retirement or decided to pursue other careers. And then coming back from that, we need to get back to 100% capacity, but we now have to fill all of those empty spots, whether that's management, whether it's frontline workers, whether it's everything from catering to ground handlers, like everything. We have to rehire or hire new people for that. And I don't think any airline in the world is back to 100% capacity yet. Just like every other industry, aviation got hit really, really hard. And it's going to be a while. It's still going to be a few years before you see everything back to normal. With that in mind, patience is a virtue. Sometimes we're dealing with things that are outside of our control, extenuating circumstances, things like wildfires, things like extreme snowstorms, which we had several of in the winter. We have to be patient. We're going to get back to 100%. We can't do anything about wildfires and snowstorms, but be patient. We're getting there. We're working on it. We're doing our best. Believe me.
Yeah. And that being said, this summer travel, school's out, people travel a lot from just like this area of the world, US, Canada. It's just the norm. People travel a lot more in the summer because exactly, school's out, parents are out, it's warm weather, people want to just move around and explore. So summer travel just gets really busy. And the past couple summers, so 2021 and 2022, since people have been able to start flying and traveling again post-COVID, it's been really hectic. It's been crazy. You've seen, the pictures at airports with the probably thousands of lost, misplaced, checked baggage.
Yep.
Just a lot of delays, a lot of metering. For example, Toronto Pearson, so the airport, nothing to do with airline specific. The airport authority decides how many people are allowed out of aircrafts when they're coming in to go through customs. Mm-hmm. And that's most likely going to be happening again this summer.
It won't be as bad, though. And the reason why it was so bad last summer and why you had literally thousands of people stuck on aircraft before they could even deplane, the reason for that was because the interaction between the customs handlers with the passenger was 4 times as long as it should be. Normally, it's about a 15-second interaction. You show your passport, you give some information, and then you proceed. But last year in Canada, we still had the obligation to use the ArriveCan app to fill out your information. And if that wasn't done correctly, that would extend your interaction with the customs agent. Even if it was done correctly, it was still about a minute per interaction rather than that 15 seconds. And that's why everything took so much longer. Well, this year, the ArriveCan app isn't necessary. I don't think. No, it's not necessary anymore. So that's going to cut down those interaction times and really play on that whole metering. And hopefully we won't see that as much, if at all.
I do think we're still going to see it because people have already started saying that they've been affected by metering in Toronto already in May.
Oh, goodness.
So at the beginning of June. So it's still going to be happening, but we're hoping it's going to be better than the previous year and the year before that. However, expect delays, expect long lines at check-in, security, customs, wherever you're traveling, whether it's within Canada, the States, Europe, wherever you're going. So again, be patient, give yourself lots of time. If you can, maybe pack a carry-on or, extra clothing or things in your carry-on if you can. if you put in an air tag, remember, don't bug your flight attendants about where your bag is, because they don't know. Unfortunately, we don't have access to that.
Oh, my sister had a good one about that. I was talking to my sister about air tags, and she discovered when passengers say to her, "Hey, I'm looking at my app right now, and the air tag isn't showing that it's like with us on the plane." And my sister has a new thing. If you take your phone off airplane mode, then it's going to be able to show an updated version. And so too many people had their phone on airplane mode and it hadn't updated because it's not getting any information. Just take it off airplane mode and then the information starts to update. And it's like, oh, look at that. The AirTag's right below me. So that's another quick little tidbit of information.
Saying that while they're in the air or still at the airport?
This is when they arrive
at their destination.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know. I feel like people don't put their phones on airplane modes a lot as well. So TBD on if that's going to fix every inquiry about air tags. But yeah, just a heads up, right? So again, we're dealing with a lot of new personnel throughout the aviation industry. We're dealing with new flight attendants. There's new pilots. There's new ramp crew. There's new catering agents. There's new everything. Mm-hmm. So everyone's still learning. There's a lot that's going to happen this summer. We're hoping it's better, but it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
There's still going to be issues. There's still going to be probably some delays. Hey, if there's any storms, thunderstorms, there's still wildfires happening, it's going to affect everything. So just keep that in mind. Be prepared wherever you're going this summer. Enjoy, obviously, but just keep that in mind as you're going into your summer travels.
Mm-hmm. And remember, when you are flying, always be nice to your flight attendants,
because they might have to save your butt one day.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye. Ooh.
Oh, and I forgot to add that I started reading the new TJ Newman book, Drowning. So good. I'm not going to give any spoilers because Jeremy hasn't read it yet.
And after she finishes, I'm going to read it and then we'll do a quick review as an episode on here for you.
Yeah, definitely. But if you haven't checked it out yet, go check it out. TJ Newman, former flight attendant, now turned author, has 2 books out now, both aviation related. Again, not sponsored, but would love to have a chat with her at some point.
Absolutely.
So have a great night, day, weekend, whenever you're listening. And bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate and review wherever you listen to podcasts. We have new episodes every Wednesday. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Moderate Turbulence on Instagram, at Mod Turbulence on Twitter, and follow us individually on Instagram at HuffyJ and at La Delvie. Thank you.